Zane Lowe, everyone.
That was a quick intro. That really caught up with me. Hi, everybody. What a beautiful room. Beautiful people. Happy Valentine's Day. Thanks to the good people at American Cinematheque and Cinespia for putting on this Valentine's Day special for all of y'all. So this has been, what is it, 8 nights celebrating some amazing films. And incredible people who put their heart and soul into making these films. Everybody who touched them and brought them to life. But there's one through line in all these films. This actor and producer, shapeshifter, student of the craft. This guy is unbelievable. Let's just think about the last 8 days and some of the roles he's inhabited. You know, young king, abandoned son, left on a dying planet to try to make the most of the family farm. What about inhabiting and embodying the early flight of one of the world's greatest songwriters, Bob Dylan? How about the one? Yeah, man. Taking and embattled people into planetary revolution. And what about what you just saw? A teenage boy who has to try to make sense of the complexity and confusion of an identity-shaping secret summer romance. All of that already, and so much more to come. Timothée Chalamet! When they called it Timothée Chalamet Live, they weren't joking, right? It's like my dream, man. Hey, congratulations on what's been an incredible 8 days, bro. It's just celebrating film, all of this, bringing people together to experience it just like you did as a kid. And it must mean a lot to you, not just for people to see these films, but to see them like this.
No, it means the world, man, and just thank you everyone for being here, taking the time to be here. Seriously, it means the world. I'm still newish to Los Angeles. I didn't know this theater existed. This is stunning, incredible to be here. Thank you to Zane for being here. You know, the interview we did together 2 years ago, I feel like it kickstarted kind of a new chapter in my career, so it feels like a nice, tying of the ribbon here to be here with you.
I love it, man. Great.
It's our first Valentine's Day together, man.
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day. We've got a lot to talk about. I'm going to make the most of every second of it. So let's start with what everyone just saw. Call Me By Your Name. That movie changed your life.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's just amazing to see the enthusiasm here for the movie tonight. I can't believe they were able to sell this theater out. Because when we made this, it was really, as I've said a million times, it was sort of a humble task. I think we had like 23 producers on this, like 23 financiers, because Luca would get a little bit of money from this person, a little bit of money from this person. Then when he got a bunch of award love, then they all tried to jump in and claim credit. But
what was the budget? $3 million?
I think it was something like that, yeah. But it was spread thin, you know. There's this fancy thing called escrow you get when you're an actor, like you're supposed to only travel once you get paid. And they didn't pay me until like we were shooting, you know. I had a lawyer that was like, you gotta get out of Italy, man. I was like, I'm getting free Italian lessons, free piano lessons. I was enjoying it. You know?
I want to start at the end of the beginning. If that movie was the beginning of a whole change of your life, I want to start with the scene that everyone just saw. The last scene. tight frame for the duration, really, of the credits. And up to that point, I'd only seen one other actor occupy a frame like that for the credits. It was Bob Hoskins in Long Good Friday, if anyone remembers that film. Yeah. Which is pretty amazing. He just spends 5 minutes just going, I'm fucked. He does this 85 different ways of going, I'm so fucked. This was such an amazing scene, mate, because you really went through the process that everyone had been building up to through that film of letting go, and at the end also acknowledging of its scenes with some gratitude of the experience that you had. At the time, and this is lofty, was it the proudest you'd been of any scene you'd done, or do you remember feeling at the end of that scene when you were doing it? How did it feel?
This whole thing felt transcendent. It's so hard to, as a young actor, come across any role where you get a good opportunity. That scene we shot, I want to say in the middle, or sort of early on, Luca pulled me into the editing suite on a weekend and he showed it to me. I felt like I was, circling something that was going to be worthwhile, but I didn't want to jinx it while we're shooting it, and I risk of repeating myself. The whole thing was like a fever dream the whole summer there, and it was short shooting days, 8-hour, 9-hour shooting days, and Luca's energy was relaxed. I mean, I remember Luca being on production calls for Cinespia while we were shooting Call Me By Her Name. Point being, it wasn't like, this is the ultimate thing, By the end, though, I felt like I went through a thing. I don't know how else to describe it. It's like Bob Dylan at the end of Don't Look Back. I love it in the car. He says, I feel like I just went through a thing. And I love that, because that's how I felt at the end of this. And I felt emotionally tired, And the last scene we shot, well, sort of that shot that goes out of focus, and by the fountain towards the end of the movie, kind of drunkenly stumbling down the steps. And I think I've said this story before, but I punched the wall in frustration when the takes, and Luca was like, that's not your character at all. We're the last day of the shoot, you don't know your character. I was grateful for the opportunity, but then also emotionally fried by the end, I don't want to say grateful to get out of there, but I felt like I went through a thing.
Yeah, look, I mean, we all do watching a film. It's really immersive. So okay, let's play catch up to Mighty Supreme, your most recent film. The last scene in that film is not dissimilar. It's again you facing the camera in a tight shot, going through some real emotional resonance, and again letting go of something. If you think about it, is that the most simple pathway to figuring out the journey you've been on since Call Me By Your Name right up to Mighty Supreme? The two actors that played those two scenes, one is a younger man and one is most recently is.
Absolutely, and they represent different things in both movies, but I feel like Marty Supreme, the ending is like coming to grips with adulthood. I'm playing younger in that movie. He's 23 years old, but he's coming of age in the sense of becoming a father. I think Call Me By Her Name is more a youthful heartbreak, coming to terms with first love for the first time, but also being let down for the first time in life, love not being what it seems. Definitely in the years since, I'm so proud of Marty. I'm so proud of The Complete Unknown. That's why I said that the interview we did, I felt like that was a launch pad of sorts, because a movie like this, without which my career wouldn't exist, and not to the degree it does, I feel like there could be indie movies sometimes that get greenlit or something, they capture a naturalistic performance of someone in their youth. I had this in the back of my head, even when I was shooting this. And then this sort of case study, the litmus test becomes, okay, can you push yourself outside of that comfort zone? That's why I'm so proud of the program of this week. I feel like it started with The King, that was sort of like a toe dabble, and then Dune and Walker, these big movies that, helped push my career along, but weren't necessarily as much character pieces as this. And I feel like A Complete Unknown and Marty Supreme back to back. I'm not trying to just toot my own horn, but like, this is, thank you. They said toot it, all right. What does that look like? Never actually thought about that, toot your own horn. But, I felt like, oh my God, I got that image in my head. Listen, man, back on track. This was like the fruitification of a lot of hard work, man. And particularly these last two roles, man. Super stoked and proud of them. And at risk of rambling, I'll just say one more thing. I shot Complete Unknown and Marty Supreme in the span of 4 months or something. I finished Complete Unknown, had a little break, and went right back into Marty Supreme. And at risk of citing athletes too much, whatever, I felt like it was that locked-in mentality, you know. I was in Texas today talking to Matthew McConaughey with his students, and I felt like
Today?
literally today, and what's great about being with McConaughey, man, he enables me, like you guys were saying too. He didn't say talk your shit, he said it in a Texan way, you know. In a Texan way, he said talk your shit, basically. And I feel like I'm 30 years old, I'm right in the pocket, man. I'm so grateful everyone was here tonight. And also what's great about doing this kind of thing is it's a great way to remind people. I'm trying to be subtle about it. Maybe not so subtle. But like, it's like, hey man, it's been a number of years, you know, and these things aren't effortless. That's not to go, this is as tough as being, you know, working at, like my dad worked his job. He will have worked 10 times harder than I ever will have, but in the domain of what I'm doing, what a lot of us are doing in Los Angeles, this is like, anyway, this is the kind of thing that gets clickbaited in a negative way, so.
It hasn't been without its disappointments, though. If you think about what happened before this breakout role, we spoke a little bit about this when we talked about Complete Unknown, how Interstellar, that felt like your big break, and then the end result, as much as it's your favorite film, had a little disappointment to you as a younger man, because you're like, I didn't show up on screen as much as I thought I would. There were scenes that got cut, you know. And when you think about that experience and coming out of, by the way, did you get to like pop off at Christopher Nolan about that?
The whole experience with Nolan, I was like, I felt totally like 17 again. I went home, it was shocking. I don't know, anybody here was at that Interstellar screening? That was a crazy car ride home for me, because I was like, holy shit, I feel like the, 13 years that have elapsed haven't elapsed. The way he was cracking jokes backstage. We were taking pictures together. I didn't post it yet. I'm gonna post it tonight or tomorrow or something. Then he throws me in a headlock and starts to hit me with a noogie. I'm like, holy shit, Chris Nolan's hitting me with a noogie right now. And I said to him, I said, Chris, I'm a 30-year-old man. He said, not to me, you're not. Whatever.
But when you think about that, right? When you come out of that experience and you get your first real taste of disappointment off the bat, what should be an incredible experience. How did you approach your journey, and did it impact your decision to do Call Me By Your Name, that experience, looking back on it?
I wouldn't say Interstellar was disappointment. That was 10 production days that gave me fuel for 3 years. The disappointment were the number of movies that I've cited before that I didn't get. The rejection, especially being in LA, that you get, and you feel like every door is getting closed, and you feel like time's kind of evaporating. There was a director named Jan Demange, maybe I should name drop him, but like, I wanted to be in his movie so badly, White Boy Rick, and I would see him at these parties. It's just the truth, man. And I'd see him at these parties and I'd be like, man, I wish I did White Boy Rick, man. And then at some point he's like, you're doing great, shut the fuck up. Stop throwing this in my face. But that was an audition I went home and I wept, because I wanted to be in it so badly. But because I could tell I just goofed it in the room. But
what does that feel like when you goof an audition?
I just felt terrible, man. I remember filming myself. I was weeping so much. I was like, I gotta chronicle this because I was so fucked up about it. And I just had a friend that was going up for a big TV show. I won't say it more specifically than that because he was so bummed. But like the exhaustion of spirit. Auditioning is a massively challenging thing. It's like a horrible thing. That's why the Screen Actors Guild, the last contract they did with the studios, they try to introduce language where you get paid for how much you prepped an audition. From what I hear, no one's followed that. But it was meant to protect, the time you put in. Otherwise, the disappointment, that was the origin of the question. The disappointment was only fuel. I can't say, I chose to call me by your name. Beggars can't be choosers. This kind of fell into my lap. And
but did it kind of alter your perspective of what a big career in movies might be, or how much longer it might take? You know what I mean? Like when you look back at that film and for the first time, and you're like, yeah, of course, what an incredible experience. But I think you said in our conversation there was a moment when, in the moment where Matthew McConaughey is crying down the barrel of the camera and calling it home, it was you he was talking to, but it wasn't you in the end result. I mean, that's hard. It's got to be a hard pill to swallow, even at the time, just as a kid.
Absolutely. I mean, they cut to another actor, and then Nolan at the Q&A we're doing, he said, yeah, I didn't even take direction, basically. And, no, I'm kidding. But he said he liked the take, and then he He said he liked it and he worked the energy into the movie, which is a big compliment. That's my defense mechanism. No, I mean, it was disappointing. This is, kind of I was talking about with McConaughey today too, like, your work is only as good as how seriously you take it, and sometimes your peaks are only as high as your lows. I remember not getting roles listening to Back to Black and being moody in the back of a car with and now I'm joking about it, but at the time,
That's the perfect album for that.
Exactly, man. And anyway, I'm not giving this sophisticated. I should be more sophisticated with you right now.
It's a sophisticated situation. I wanted to bring it back to Call Me By Your Name, catch up the timeline and talk about the chemistry you have with Armie Hammer in this film. Which you can actually scream, not withhold it like that. That's terrifying. It's way scary. Next time he's going to go. It feels really spontaneous as you're getting to know each other, as you're falling for each other, as you become physically connected. It feels very spontaneous and playful. It doesn't feel reversed. It doesn't feel like you went through that. Is that fair to say? And how did you get to a place where you could trust each other in those kind of environments to just play with it and be spontaneous in those?
I don't think there's much, practice or like chemistry mixing or whatever, mixology or whatever. I think it's either comfortable or it's not. And point being, like, if something's gonna go awry or you're not comfortable with your scene partner or without citing other movies or whatever, there's public fallouts and stuff, when people don't like each other, it's clear, y'all know what I'm talking about.
But it does bring up an interesting quote that you said to me, which was
one clickbait thing, I give another clickbait thing back.
But by the way, I don't even bring my click. I bought no bait. You said you like to approach acting playfully and not mechanically. But not everybody is like that. And some people are more mechanical or do approach in a different way. So when you do find yourself on set wanting to be true to your own approach, wanting to try it the way that makes you feel comfortable and inspired, and you have to work opposite somebody who doesn't, how do you sort of manage your way through that? What tools do you use in order to adapt to other people's methods?
I think I've been lucky where I don't think it's as regimented as that, as far as I think based on this movie, I think people were pretty motivated since this, to a fault maybe, to work around. I would say the challenges I faced in that regard were more between Marty Supreme and Call Me By Your Name, as far as feeling like once you're on a bigger set or a bigger studio, feeling like you gotta be more controlled or something. I feel like Marty and A Complete Unknown were kind of breaking free of that. I think Wonka has a lot of moments of that too, but I you got the voice of the internet right here.
But I noticed Wonka was absent this last 8 days.
Well, we were supposed to do this last year, and then unfortunately the fires broke out. That was definitely on the program last year. I think Kayla Lane, who plays Noodle beautifully in Wonka, I think she did an intro last year. So Wonka and Little Women and Bones. I wanted to do the whole. I wanted to do the whole thing. I mean, we would have done the Stevens and Hot Summer Nights. Oh yeah, we would have done 1 and 2. We would have done, anyway, that's just this section. No one else got hyped for that.
This is a fucking riot. We've got to honor the director, Luca. One of the things that's so amazing about this film is the fact that he's created such a vicarious experience for us, and yet it gets so close and so intimate to the experience that you all had as characters in the film, which is really, really, it's like a magic act. Do you remember being on set, how he did that, how he was able to get so close to the relationships, multiple relationships in this film, without it feeling like we were spying on you guys?
No, I think that's Luca's superpower. I think he does it in all of his movies. I think you saw that in Challengers as well. I think he just kind of puts it on sort of fly on the wall. And I wouldn't say he creates the presumption of intimacy in as much as if you were having a non-vulnerable moment or something, that would be glaring and stand out. So it's not like all of a sudden he takes an invasive or voyeuristic attitude or anything. The setup is very intimate and vulnerable. I think that's why this movie functions so well, Calling by Our Name. And as it relates to an organic discussion of career, I think that's why I functions, in a healthy way within it. It's because I was so hungry. And it'd be like a musician or a rapper or something who's like, has a meeting at the record label or something and comes overly prepared. I wanted to give it all, That's why that last scene, I don't have a crazy memory of that last scene. I think my buddy Will was in town and we went home and it was like, it was another day, yeah. And whereas on Marty Supreme or something last day, I do have a memory of, that last scene. That felt like a heavy lift,
How many takes did you do on that last scene for Marty Supreme?
Marty Supreme was 2. Yeah, Marty Supreme was 2 in the he just used the first take. But yeah.
Do you have to, did you say humble brag? I don't know that means. You did 2 takes, it's a fact, it's incredible. Do you remember, actually I don't want to ask that question because some things should stay magic. I'm not going to go into what you were thinking about during those kind of scenes. Wherever you go, and that's the most important thing. I do want to ask a couple more questions about Call Me By Your Name. I want to focus a little bit on the relationship with the father in the film. The scene where the father talks to you and reveals something about himself in order to assure you and reassure you that you're on the right path in life and you should experience these things in order to feel shame is all fucking time. It's incredible. The writing in that scene is incredible. As a father, it's amazing to watch that come to life on screen. What was it like to shoot that particular scene, if I could be there?
I love it. I mean, there's scenes you circle as an actor that intimidate you or the ones that stand out to you in the script. That obviously wasn't the heavy lift for me, it was for Michael Stuhlbarg. I think as I've grown older, that scene stands out to me more and more, It's like the perfect, advice isn't even the right word, the perfect guidepost for a young person in life.
But I just want to say, though, for what it's worth, that you didn't say anything, but that's not the point. I love it, instrumental ambient music. It moves me as much as music with lyrics, if not more at times. So in not saying anything in that scene, you still had to carry your part in it. What is that experience like when you don't actually have dialogue and you're just, having to face somebody in the
Well, Michael, truthfully, was totally effortless, man, because he was phenomenal. I think we did 2 takes, and on the 3rd take, he turned to me and said, "Don't look at me this time." And when it was on his side, and I really respected it. I could tell he needed to do something where I was more passively listening, And then this is going to sound cheesy, but it was so easy to receive what he was saying when they did my side of the scene. I think Call Me By Your Name and Beautiful Boy had me spoiled in a sense after those projects, where it was so naturally the themes were so close to my heart and naturalistic. I think something like The King or Marty Supreme, I don't take more pride in them, but I go, okay, these were stretches in a sense. I'm not deeply enthusiastic about table tennis. I'm not, medieval king of England, yet. But both these films that we showed the last 2 nights, there were things that felt so universal to me, and that's what I mean by spoiled. It's like very rare to get 1, let alone 2 movies when you're young, especially. There's not much of a stretch going on.
When you released The King, and people who got to see The King in the cinema this past 8 days, that's probably the first time you, and certainly anybody, most people will have seen it in the cinema. It had a limited theatrical release, and it was probably in the first few years of films that, $20-odd million budget film going straight to Netflix pretty much after limited theatrical. So as someone who grew up wanting this experience, wanting to see your films in a theater and understanding this is progress, this is the direction it's going, what did that feel like when the film went to Netflix? Did it affect your sense of completion? Did you have to adapt to that, the idea of job done when it didn't get a full...
I think if I answer that totally truthfully, they kind of hit things in the zeitgeist in different ways, because the reach of Netflix is unparalleled, and something like Squid Game, that's a poor example, is because it was so massive, so it's not like I'm making a big stretch there by citing that, but that show, because I was traveling at the time, when that show was everywhere, it was in every household, and including me, I was watching it. If you put out a movie theatrically, what I've felt, based on my experience with The King or Don't Look Up, is that it's just more of a moment. Sounds like cheesy marketing talk, but like there's more ceremony around it, there's more drum roll, and I think it's hard when something goes direct to streaming. This is more a technical conversation. I don't know how interesting this is to talk about, but it's hard to do that, I found, with streaming. And I wasn't always at that mentality, because I like things having a big reach. I'm a big believer in, I've gone on a million talk shows too and say support theaters, and I do believe in supporting theaters.
Yeah, I mean, this is proof of concept, case in point, 8 days of doing this.
I was going to contrast my prior point there, but then people supported it with applause, so I'm afraid to contrast it.
But I don't think it's one or the other anymore in anything. In my opinion, I mean, I'm a vinyl collector and I work at a streaming service. It's contradictory times. But the work, to your point, you want it to be seen by as many people as possible. And that's always been a driving factor for you to some degree, right? Is to inspire as many people with your films as you can.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's why, man, Marty Supreme doing the numbers it did, it's still doing it. It's going to open in France today. When Benyama was just wearing the jacket. I'll post that in a second. But this is the dream, and it's across the board. I feel like I've been able to shift my perspective in that way too. Like when Frankenstein was booming, or Hamlet was booming, or all these movies, I get stoked because I go, okay, these things are working. I think I used to have more of an immature mentality. Now I know, like, our film industry, LA even being a capital of culture in America or in the Western world, everyone says that stuff is not guaranteed at all, at all. So these things need to thrive. What I was going to say before is, for as much as it should be, for as much as there's like a civil effort to keep theaters alive and stuff, when you get a Barbie or an Oppenheimer, you go, okay, that's no civil effort. That's like people wanting to see those fucking movies. So that'd be my dream, to continue hopefully walking that line between, something like Marty and stuff like that.
It's crazy though, because it is, like, if I look at what you've done, even with the bigger films, obviously doing gigantic film, complete unknown big films, Mighty Supreme, there's still this sense of you not necessarily falling hook, line, and sinker into the big studio mentality. I never get a feeling when I'm watching these films like you've been consumed by that. How hard is it to not be consumed by that when you start to have success?
I think my perspective is strong, being from New York and doing this for like 10 years now or something, or 8 years, 10 years, so, and the examples are there. There's tons of examples that are like minefields too, but then, this is gonna be a very easy cited example. If you look at DiCaprio's career, if you look at Titanic, that he did very young, obviously, and every choice since has been intentionally director-based, character-based. That's not rocket science, me saying that at all, and the path is right there. So, those are my two favorite words of this year: perspective and authorship, and those just bounce around my head all the time. And what the limits of that are as an actor, where otherwise you have your lines written for you, otherwise you have your talking points given to you. I feel like I've flipped all that, yeah, I just want to keep pushing it, man. That's what I was talking about with Kanye today too. It's like I want to push it as far as it can go, and then whoever the next guy or gal is, they'll be able to push it even further.
Your work and your what you did with the Bob Dylan role. We spoke before the film. We haven't really spoken after the film. Just text, but not like I haven't had a chance to say that, face to face, how remarkable that was. You may not know this, and I don't really care at this point, but I hadn't actually seen the film before we spoke about it. I wasn't allowed to see the screening, so I just literally was we were riffing on the concept more than anything.
Absolutely incredible. How hard was it to let that role go in the end? Because when I saw you even performing on Saturday Night Live, you were Timothee. If I close my eyes, you were Bob.
Yeah, man. No, that was finishing that. That was like the most transcendent experience I've ever had. I love Marty. I love Call Me by Her Name, but finishing Complete Unknown, it just felt like I couldn't even put words to it. And to study that man's brain and his career and the place I'm at now, and it's like just gemstones, you know, that are guiding me. And I wouldn't know how else to say it. You know, I don't have much more to say on that. Like, you know, it was just a dream.
You said that his relationship with destiny is fragile. Bob Dylan's relationship with destiny is fragile. And I love the way you put that. You know, I feel like your relationship with destiny is purposeful. You know, that you do have a grasp on what you want to achieve, but do you have moments where that wavers? Do you have moments when you have to like?
I feel like there's moments where it wavers to me in the sense that I feel my position is more fraught or something, but my inner mission is unchanged or something. That's why I use that word perspective again. That's why I cite New York, because you know, I make this joke, like at Columbia University, I went to for a year, I was like the most lost person and couldn't keep up academically. I don't know how I got in. But then in the you know, in this like cream or whatever you want to call it that gets to work in LA, my perspective all of a sudden is like crystal clear. And like I said, there's the minefield examples of people before me that are like warning signs or something. You know, Bob Dylan, Hank Williams, they didn't, you know, Hank Williams is kind of like the first rock star, OD'd, you know, they didn't have the examples before them. Now we really have the examples, you know, so I feel like the missteps are clear, project-wise, character-wise, public life-wise, you know, so I can be academic about my career, you know, and I hope you guys hold me to it, you know, I hope this ages well. I hope in 5 years I'm able to do it again with a couple of great things. In 10 years, you know, same thing. In 15 years, you're, you know, pulling me out of whatever cult I'm in, and then in 20 years, you know, doing it again. It might age terrible, you never know.
That's crazy. I mean, you think about like the film everyone just saw is 9 years old, and I feel like there's as much love, if not more, for that film as it grows than ever before. You know, one of the things I really like about the way that you've been approaching amplifying your work and the work of the people that you made the films with. I'll just cut straight to the chase there. Like, people get a little obsessed over this whole marketing thing. I see it very differently. The way I feel is that you look at your films like an artist looks at an album. Like a great artist. Like, how many people love music in this? So you know what it's like when like Tyler the Creator puts out an album. Now Tyler's not just putting out an album and going back to sleep, right? He's finding interesting and unique ways to tell us that his music is out all the time. And I've got nothing against the system and how it works, because time is important, but most things I've ever seen for films are like junkets, 2-day junkets of like, and that's cool, right? I get it, you have limited time with people. You don't do that. You go around the junket and beyond the junket and do all that shit. And I just wanted to say, first of all, for a question, I really respect that. I actually don't like the idea that I get shitty when people are like, oh, he's really good at marketing. I'm like, it's not that. But it is that, but it's more than that. What is it that does that really excite you? Does it seems like it really inspires you that once the work is done on set, that you do look at it as just all creative.
Absolutely, and I like that you mentioned Tyler, because he was somebody in my ear throughout Marty Supreme. Obviously, he's a huge part in it, but just always encouraging me to go. And you need people like that. Even I keep bringing up McConaughey, but I hadn't seen him in a long time. And today, these people that are really comfortable operating out of bounds, you know. And I don't have too much to say on that, you know. I don't think this stuff just feels inevitable. The times they were changing, as Bob would say, and you know, those days of doing these movies are not guaranteed, like you need to reach people, blah, blah, blah. So I don't think we did a single junket on Murray. I think the one junket we did, I stuck my foot in my mouth because I was like, you know, I hadn't been in a setting like that in a while and I said something stupid or whatever, but yeah, you know, I relish it because some people don't relish it at all. And they go, fuck, I'm gonna do this press tour, I'm gonna be here, or whatever. And I hear that and I salivate because I'm like, okay, you don't relish it, I fucking relish this shit. I relish this. Because what a dream, you know, this is this is like the aspirational hip hop part of me now, but what a dream.
Yeah.
What a dream, man. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I'm at this theater. I came here 5 minutes before the movie ends. This theater's sold out. You know, they let me put a rocket ship up there because that's how I fucking feel. It's like that rocket ship, you know what I mean? And what a dream.
What's it feel like, speaking of deserving it, what does it felt like, given, you know, the last 10 years or so, or more, and I know you're a humble guy, but fuck it, right? Like, what does it feel like to be honored this season? How has it felt to get out there and know that
Zane's trying to bait me right now.
I mean, it's a genuine question, you know? I would have loved you to be honored more last year, to be honest with you. But we've all been at prize givings, right? Who fucking knows, you know? But this year, you've had a really good run, and I'm pulling forward from what comes next. I'm just asking you how it feels so far.
It feels great, man. This is not the cheesy response, it's the authentic one. Because I look at Jesse Buckley and Hamden, or I look at Leo and I get stoked because I go, wow, you know, Jacob and Frankenstein. I get stoked because I go, man, these guys are, everyone's killing it. So I feel lucky to be part of that community. They had that Oscars luncheon the other day, and it was moving, you know, especially because they honor so many people at the luncheon that are in front of camera. You know, they'll honor the sound people and cinematographers, people that don't always get their shine. So I felt honored to be a part of that community. And honestly, my live day-to-day tension, it's my day-to-day tension. I'm not saying it's the end, whatever the end, it's not the end of the world, but my intention is the November, December, that's what I really live for. My November, December, that was what I live for. The thing you just asked me about before, I don't even want to talk about it too much. And then this part,
Wait, which part?
I'm just saying, putting out the movie, whatever part, you know, like I'm gonna go to Japan and China in March. I'm stoked to do that because I love reaching people through film or something. I want to be a basketball player or a soccer player. I don't want to be, you know, in elitist circles. I want to be like doing real shit. You know, I want people, you know, that's what I love about Marty Supreme was I felt like it was this prestige A24 movie, but more than anything, when I was walking the street, I felt like it wasn't necessarily an in crowd. They said, I don't know if this is true, but they said it was like the movie this year with the least frequent movie-going audience or something. That's music to my ears, the least frequent movie-going audience. That's awesome. And I think these tickets are only Cinematheque members. That's a very movie-going audience. But
I know what you mean, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that's rare.
Yeah, that's the dream. And so, yeah, anyway, this is all thrilling to do this the last couple months. And you know, these institutions they don't sustain themselves, so it's really moving. When you see PTA, it's something, you see Spielberg, you see Leo, you see Jesse Buckley, you see Chloe Zhao, it's moving, man. Everyone's terrified and thrilled, you know?
You know, when I speak to my friends who tour and they go on the road a lot, and I speak to them when they're on the road, often they just want to talk about normal life. They don't want to talk about what's been going on the shows or any stuff. They're like, what's happening in your world, or how's such and such, a mutual friend. And I'm always reminded that, you know, for all of the excitement of doing that and the dream come true, that life is going on around them whilst they're on the road. And I always try to point that out too, because every time we buy a ticket to a show and we go see a concert, we go home to normal life and they've got to go to it night after night after night after night. It's important to remember that. I feel the same way. It must feel the same way sometimes when you go on set. Like, I don't know what you're off to go work on next, I'm sure you won't tell us, but you know, how do you manage the away of it all? You know, you obviously have friends and family and everything else. That's your tour. How do you find a balance?
I love to use a music metaphor. That's why I was so stoked to do that interview 2 years ago, because we think the same way. I think it's much more grounded, and I feel like I work in the humanities in a sense. I feel like these rocks, you know, if you're a rock star or something, you're constantly, your nervous system's firing, and I've thought about this at length. You know, you're constantly in hotel rooms, whatever. Something like Dune, for instance, this past summer, I'm in the same apartment in Budapest, 2 months at a time, and I'm engaging in grounded human exercises. Even playing someone like Paul Atreides, the stakes are still, you know, behavioral, I don't know how else to put it. So I think it's quite different. I think in pop culture, whatever you want to call it, I think musicians have it the hardest as far as like keeping their feet on the ground. Also the stakes, album to album. I've thought about this so much too. It's so hard as a musician if your album kind of goes like this, critically, financially, whatever.
That's on you.
To then go up. Yeah, and I think movies flop all the time, you know, and then the guys in the biggest hit the next year. And that answers your musician question.
No, I have one more musician question. Needless to say, you won't be touring with SD Kid anytime soon.
I got no idea what you're talking about.
I was sure I'd be the one to get it out. I fucking love SD Kid. So if that is you, thank you, man. I appreciate you. Shouts to the Liverpool Massive. It's been really, really nice to see you again, man. And I think what you've put on here for everybody over the last 8 days, apart from being a great opportunity for everyone to honor your work and the work of all the thousands of people who made these films with you, you've also given everybody this experience, which, and we all sit on our couch. It's great, but it's nice to be together, right? Like this.
No, thank you, man, and thank you everyone for being here. I like that you framed the last question in the musician setting. I feel like something like this week is the closest I can get to, to that feeling. Thank you all. I've seen a lot of your faces consistently the whole week, and I'm glad we got to revisit these, because when I see my favorite artists in concert and they play that early shit, I'm the only person here that knows that fucking song, man.